On this week's FPL Happy Hour.
Like it's just a different world for me. Like the pressure, the stress from the games, like especially going last three games, we've gone 3-0 up and then obviously drew 3-3 with Arsenal, 3-2 with Wolves, and then 3-2 with Leicester. I just like so happy at the moment. Hello and welcome to the 15th episode of our podcast, FPL Happy Hour, with me, Sham, otherwise known as FPL 2 Guys One Cup on Twitter.
And myself, Rob, otherwise known as FPL Panda.
Rob, how are you, my friend?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, average week. Yeah, coming off the back of a wild card, probably hoped for something better, but I think a lot of people in the same situation, especially with those that didn't have the wild card, receiving a few complimentary points off the bench. I
Yeah, there was a
think
lot of that.
with like the rotation at City causing havoc, both to like, well, I think it was just generally that game just caused havoc for everyone, as well as
Not me.
not for you, as well as like other random last minute benchings or injuries or stuff. So yeah, just more of 2020 2021 season FPL, I think.
Yeah, well, I had a good week, and we'll talk about that in a bit more detail soon, both as a hammer and as a FPL wildcarder. So, yes, very happy indeed. Right, so on tonight's episode, we gonna cover Uber differentials with you. So players under 5% ownership. We've picked two defenders, two midfielders, and two attackers that we're going to talk to you in more detail about. A lot of people are going to be chasing their mini leagues and want a last flurry for the end of the season. So we thought we'd pick out some players that we think have a really good shot of helping you move up those mini leagues. We'll then look back. Before that, we'll look back at how we did last week, and then we'll talk a little bit about what our plans are for next week. We have our live stream as usual on Thursday, and on Thursday we'll be doing our 5v5. We'll be picking players that we think are good for game week 32, and the double game week. So, Rob, let's have a look at your team. How did you do last week?
So for me, it was 51 points, I think, in the end. 53 points in the end. So yeah, the Leno bringing him in on the wild card, but lots of others did. So yeah, that clean sheet was fairly comfortable in the end. Rudiger, that was disappointing. Benteke scoring Palace's only shot of the game. But I could probably consider myself lucky that I wasn't one of the ones that doubled up on the Chelsea defence. I think, yeah, those that doubled up, it would be really disappointing not to come away with that clean sheet. Romain says 6 points. Yeah, another solid clean sheet for him. I think it was Semedo that picked up 9 points though. But yeah, he's probably like the most premium option of the Wolves defenders. And probably hasn't shown great value, but I think we'll touch on him later on. Then yeah, Phillips from Liverpool, 2 points, but I'm not too fussed about that. I wasn't expecting lots of clean sheets from Liverpool between now and the end of the season, and it was just, but I thought he had the best chance out of my remaining three, Shaw, Masuaku, and him to get a clean sheet this week. Then my midfielders, Jota, Fernandez, 2 points each. Bruno, I think, yeah, when United score 3 times, you'd think Bruno will be a part of something in there, but I think it was all about a certain Frenchman in a lot of the build-up to the 3 goals. Although Bruno did assist the assist, and it confused a lot of people when FPL tweeted Fernandez assist, Greenwood goal for Cavani's the third goal in the United Spurs game. It was. I think what was I doing? I'd taken my eye off the game for like a couple of minutes, and then saw that come back into the room, and it was like third goal, and like saw the notification on my phone, and I was like, oh, nice. Bruno assist. I was like, yeah, happy with that. And then the
It was
replay.
clearly a Cavani goal.
Yeah, the replay came up, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's what's going on there.
Yeah.
Salah captain paid off. He got his goal. I didn't want to gamble on anyone else. And I thought he was the best out of the like super premiums, best captaincy option, and he rewarded me. Neto 1-pointer and really disappointing. I think we spoke about him a lot over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and we tipped him to finish the season strongly, especially with the Wolves fixtures over the next 3 or 4 weeks. And it's really disappointing that he's got injured, and it looks like he's out till next season. When we thought there's returns in him, so I think he's a problem I'd like to fix sooner rather than later, with an aggressive move that we'll chat about later. Jesse Lingard, Lingardinho,
Messi
Lingard, all of the things are just amazing again.
I'm going to chat about him in a minute.
Lifting the bar higher and higher and higher. He's been brilliant, and there's already lots of talk now, and I think they asked him in the his post-match interview, like, don't you want to be part of?
And he ignored the question.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one of those that I think is. They spoke about it a bit on the Gary Neville podcast after Sunday evening's game, and they said that, like I said, it's a no-lose situation for Jesse Lingard or United, like whether they can keep him as part of their like 20-man squad and use him as a rotation and be part of certain games and part of like just be that backup in the midfield, or he can go to West Ham and be the
main man,
but be the main man, but maybe not challenging for the Premier League, which next year I expect United to be wanting to challenge for the Premier League. So it's one of those. Like, I think if he stays at West Ham though, like, and he went to West Ham, I think if he was looking towards the World Cup in 2022, then he'd want to stay at West Ham, because he'll start more. He'll be playing every game, and if he can keep up this form,
go on, throw.
if he can like keep up this form and bring it into next season at West Ham and be playing in Europe, you've got to think that the 2022 World Cup, he's going to be in Gareth Southgate's thoughts. I think he might just miss out on the Euros, even though he's got a very strong case to be like going into the Euros, because he's got the experience as well of being part of the setup that went so close at the previous World Cup. So I think it's
after he scored his second goal, Shez, who's also one of my friends who's a United fan, texted me and was like, yeah, his price tag just went up to 80 million now, but we'll take him for Rice. And I was like, fuck you.
I think
they're going to try that.
I think the destination Declan Rice, but again, if you can make European football next year, I think, like, especially if United, if they're going to be in Europe, it's almost dead cert now next year. But Chelsea's been tipped like they want him now. If they don't make Europe, why would he go to Chelsea? Why would he leave West Ham to go to Chelsea if Chelsea aren't in Europe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's an interesting one with Lingard and Rice. I've got a feeling United will try it and go, right, we'll take Rice and give you maybe like 10 million, and you can
So
play.
if Man City win the Champions League, that
Hmm.
means his top five go to Champions League, right?
No,
I thought that becomes so the winner gets it plus.
no. If Chelsea don't make the Champions League, so if Chelsea finish fifth
Yeah.
and win the Champions League, then 5 English teams go into the Champions League.
Oh, okay. Fine.
Same with with Liverpool. If they won the Champions League but didn't finish in the top 4, then there'll be
Okay, I
5.
thought we'd get an extra spot.
I think there is something that will actually take away one of the spots, but I can't think. Oh, it's if United or Arsenal win the if Arsenal win the Europa League and Chelsea or Liverpool don't qualify in the top 4 but win the Champions League, then only the top 3 go into the Champions League next year.
It's bound to happen, isn't it? It's such a West Ham thing that we'll finish fourth
happened.
and that will happen.
It happened. I think it happened to Spurs
Yeah.
when Chelsea won the Champions League in
Didn't it happen to
2012.
Everton?
Or no, that was it. It happened to Everton in 2012
Yeah.
when Chelsea won the Champions League, and they didn't get. I think, or they were put into like the very first qualifying round and then ended up losing or something ridiculous, when they should have been straight in the group stage. But yeah, I could see that happening. And
It's such a West Ham thing.
it would be, I mean, I think it's unlikely that it would happen though. Arsenal, I've got a feeling they're going to struggle on Thursday evening. I think Slavia Prague um, have their number, and know exactly what they need to do, and I've got a
Yeah.
feeling they're going to steal a famous result for them, because this Arsenal team haven't got that killer instinct that I think you need in Europe, even in the Europa League. At this late stage, you just need that killer instinct, and if they don't get beaten by Slavia Prague, then Villarreal will beat them. So yeah. Anyway, back to
Yeah.
the end of my
Okay,
team. So yeah, Ings disappointed with that. I think the Southampton performance overall was disappointing. Against West Brom, I was expecting a lot more from them. We've heard the phrase like on the beach. Tom at WGTA used it a few times this week, and I think that can be applied to Southampton. They're not going to get relegated. They're not fighting for European places. So yeah, they're just in that sort of middle ground of nothingness. So yeah, no, I worry.
They won the league 6 months ago, didn't
What was that, before or after we smashed them 9-0?
they?
Yeah, I worry for their assets. Yeah, we spoke a bit about like James Ward-Prowse and Scott Armstrong and Nathan Redmond and Danny Ings, and it's just like actually no. And yeah, when we talk about our plans for the week coming up, yeah, we'll talk about what I'm thinking of doing with Ings and in a little combination with Neto. And then Harry Kane, 2-pointer. Again, just disappointing. I expected more from Spurs. And I think United, I've just cancelled him out of the game. He never really got into the game. I think Fred did a really good job on him, just hassling him constantly. And he wasn't able to sort of dictate the game like Spurs. Like they set up as Kane as their sort of main man, and he kind of dictates the pace of the game for Spurs, and it just never happened for them. The big disappointment is Kelechi Iheanacho sitting first bench.
Wouldn't have happened if you listened to me.
I forgot.
I knew that the game was going to be high scoring. I said it on the stream. I was like, this is going to be like a 2-2. And then before, so James did a live stream for Planet FPL patrons, and I said before the game, this is going to be 3-2 either way. I don't know which way it's going to be 3-2, but this is going to be this is a 3-2 game.
Yeah, it's in like Captain Hindsight. Yeah, maybe should have gone with what you said and started him instead of Neto. But I did fancy Wolves to beat Fulham, and who knows what would have happened if he didn't get injured. We don't know. So I'm going to put it down as just bad luck rather than it being a bad decision.
No, that was not bad luck. That was a bad decision. I can say when it's a bad luck or bad decision. That if you had Dallas as second sub or third sub, that would be bad luck, right? They're playing City. You don't expect them to come on. That wasn't bad luck. Sorry, I'm not giving you that one, Rob.
And then who else on the bench? And then Sanchez kept a clean sheet. So yeah, nice 2 clean sheets from. I've probably beaten my bench boost. I've probably tripled like what my bench boost was.
And mine
with Sanchez and Iheanacho. But yeah, it was the right thing with Shaw and Masuaku to bench them, which I'm happy I got that right. So 53 points, a small green arrow from 103k to 101k. Although when I went to sleep last night, I was at 90k, and then the auto subs pushed me back over 100k. But at one point in the game week, I was at 65k. So I know that I'm knocking on the door, and I'm hoping that in the next couple of game weeks I can really cement myself into that top 100k and start pushing towards the top 50. How did you get along?
I had a really good wildcard of all my drafts, apart from my second to lot. I had 2 drafts in the end. One had double Arsenal defense, and one had one had Leno instead of Mendy, and Cedric Suarez instead of Rudiger, and then I ended up just basically going triple Chelsea instead. So Mendy in defence, Alexander-Arnold, who banged in 11 points, Holding, who was an auto sub that came in for Alonso, Rudiger 2 points, Son, Jota, Salah captain, and then the unstoppable Messi, Lingard, and then Kane, Iheanacho, and Vardy, Rafinha, Alonso, and Masuaku on the bench. Good wildcard in the end, 77 points. 250k to 150k, big green arrow, like massive green arrow. So yeah, really pleased with that. I want to talk a little bit about West Ham, right? So as you guys know, I'm a West Ham fan, and I put out a tweet the other day. I was so ecstatic after that Leicester victory. Like, as a West Ham fan growing up, we don't have many joys, right? Like, there isn't. That's the reality. But we know that as West Ham fans, it's kind of like we are in the middle. We try and be as happy as we can when we're doing well, but generally we are used to bottom half football. Yeah, in terms of bottom table, I would say generally. If we're top table, it's a good season. Like, being fourth now is like nosebleed territory. It's so stressful when it comes to watching a game now, where it's like, and one question, I didn't know how to phrase this because it's really difficult to work out how to phrase this, is like, you're a United fan, you're used to being in European football every year, you're used to being in the top 6 every year. That's kind of like, that's bread and butter for you guys, right? I guess as a fan like that, if you guys finish top 4 and don't get trophies, how do you feel? Like, are you happy? Are you elated? Are you kind of like, are you like, if you were to win a good game that makes you in the top 4 or makes you third or second or whatever, does that fill you with a lot of joy in your life and happiness? Because like from my point of view, I'm like, we're fourth at the moment. Like every game when we win and we play well, I'm like so happy. It dictates my life at the moment. Like I'm so elated, and like for the whole until Monday morning, I was like buzzing. Is that how you feel, or like regular fans feel about big clubs, or not? Or is it a case of just, yeah, I'm happy they won and that's it, kind of thing? Like that. I'm not sure if I phrased it correctly, but or if it makes sense.
I think, I mean, as a United fan, like my first 20 years of supporting them, I was very lucky. Yeah, from when I was little, I've always known them to be winning trophies, and yeah, got to experience some great moments, like in that sort of up until Alex Ferguson left, and then I think the time we had under David Moyes, and then under Louis van Gaal, it was a real eye opener to what supporting a club should be like. I mean, the closest we had to that before was probably like the little barren period where, was it between 2003 and 2006 when we didn't win the league. Chelsea won it a couple of times and Arsenal won it. And that was the closest we'd had to that. And then even in that time, we won the FA Cup and the League Cup. But then from that moment on, we just dominated again for 3 or 4 years. But then, yeah, when we won the FA Cup against Palace in LVG's last game, yeah, there was that elation there. It was because we'd finished top 4 and it felt like we're back on like the right route. Although at the time there was that uncertainty, but then with LVG staying, and he ended up getting sacked that evening after the FA Cup final, and then Mourinho was announced 2 or 3 days later. But then that even felt like the right step. And then things under Mourinho, it started off really well, and we won the Europa League, we won the League Cup, and we finished second in the league, and it felt like, yeah, we were on the right track again. But now, I think under Ollie, our expectations have been a lot lower. And I remember at Christmas time when we were top of the league, it was the first time in a long time that I'd felt really like what you're talking about, this like overjoyment of your football club, where yeah, I actually believed for like the 2 or 3 weeks that it was that we were top of the league before City overtook us, that we could challenge for the title. And I still think that we're not far off it.
This season,
this season,
mate, you ain't gonna win it this season.
Well, no, we're not going to win it this season. But we dropped points to West Brom. We dropped points to Burnley. We dropped points to Palace. That was 6 points that was dropped in 3 games there. Like those, if we get 6 points in those 3 games, then that, 14-point gap is an 8-point gap with a game in hand.
But then equally, City dropped a lot of points at the beginning of the season.
But so did we. Like we lost to Palace in our first game of the season.
So is it a case of you only feel like that if you're challenging for the league versus if you're challenging for top 4? So that elation that you described sounds similar to how I'm feeling at the moment. That was when you were competing and you thought that you had a chance of winning the league compared to... top four, for example?
I think that second season under LVG, when we won the FA Cup and we were in that like top four battle and we managed to get there in the last couple of games. Yeah, that was because it felt like a bit of a turning point. Even though we weren't happy with the way that we were playing football, we felt that the club was making the right steps compared to the previous seasons where we'd finished like 7th, 6th, 8th, and stuff like that. That was probably the only time where I've gone, yeah, we finished top four, get in.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that expectation, especially at the bigger clubs like at City, like now, like for City, like the minimum expectation, it's like how United were 15 years ago. The minimum expectation is winning the league, or at
yeah,
least being there or thereabouts. The same with Liverpool. Like the minimum expectation this year would have been to win the league again. Like
yeah.
the way that they
Like,
dominated last year, that they shouldn't have accepted anything less than that. And there's probably like teams like yourselves, like you're. I think this season West Ham have propelled themselves from a middle, comfortable middle table team, and like maybe even pushing towards the lower side of the middle of the table, to actually being on that level with Leicester, Everton, like these teams that they they've just needed that extra little push to get them over the line into the top four. Like Leicester, they fell away late in the day last season. I think they're gonna. I can't see them finishing top four now. I think the way that they looked after the game on Sunday, you could almost tell they looked defeated, and the fact that like they had Kasper Schmeichel coming up in the 94th minute up for corners, like you could see how big um, losing that game was to them. They just look a bit defeated and out of ideas. Jamie Vardy has just disappeared, and like Kalehi and Nacho seems to be their main threat now. Vardy's not showing much of that energy that he has before.
it's like it's just a different world for me. Like the pressure, the stress from the games, like especially going last three games, we've gone 3-0 up, and then obviously drew 3-3 with Arsenal, 3-2 with Wolves, and then 3-2 with Leicester. I just like so happy at the moment of being a fan, and it's the boys are doing me proud. Proud as David Moyes has been a revelation, Lingard, and then just seeing like Declan Rice in the crowd and his reaction to it was like a fan, celebrating when we're 3-0 up, and then like literally like this when we're 3-2 and got 5 minutes to go. Yeah,
I think it's probably the
so
way
good.
that the way that you've won the games as well. Like as you
Yeah,
said, it's been exciting. You've taken these really strong leads, and like it's like the complete opposite of what we do, like what United do. They and it's like been that way for 20 years. Like we'll go 1-0 down, 2-0 down, or 3-0 down, or whatever, and then come back and win it at the death. Or like this season, it's been like this common thing of we'll go 1-0 down at half time, and but by within 10 minutes of the second half, we'll be 2-1 up, and then we'll end up
if
winning comfortably.
if we end up finishing top four, David Moyes has to get manager of the season.
Yeah, I
Has to if we finish top four. Like that has got to be the best achievement in the league this season by anyone.
well, unless Big Sam manages to claw West Brom out of relegation.
Maybe, yeah. That that
um,
that is a possibility. If that
like
happens, that would be
he's.
on par. That would be on
I
par.
think if
I would say.
Newcastle didn't win at the weekend, I think West Brom would have had a chance. They'd have been like within 5 points.
Yeah,
But I think 8 points is it's just a bit too much. But we've seen great escapes. Leicester did it.
yeah.
Um,
And then won the league the next year.
yeah. So um, yeah, I can't think of any other manager in the league that would deserve it more than David Moyes.
Yeah.
Just for what he's done and with the budget that he's had, like the players that he's brought in have been just perfect to do those different roles in the club. And I think the final piece in the puzzle was Jesse Lingard, just
Yeah.
having that special bit of energy of a player that's got the experience of competing at that end of the table.
And I just can't believe how wrong I was. Like, I keep thinking about it. You know, I was not happy with not that I was unhappy with the Jesse Lingard move, but I wasn't excited about it. Just because I didn't think much of him, to be honest with you. And I said that before. Like, I'm just so happy that he's proven me completely wrong. Like, completely wrong. And I'm very happy that he's proved me wrong.
I
I
think
always
if
wanted him to prove me wrong.
would you argue if at the end of the season you'd made top four and he was named your player of the season,
No.
and he's come in January and just gone, yeah, I'll be your player of the season. I cannot think of anyone.
If
Like there's few players that have.
Declan Rice has got to be up there.
Yeah,
I think
Rice, but
Rice has got to be up there. Ogbonna was injured for a bit. He was great at the beginning of the season. Souček, Safal, they're all good contenders. But, you know, and this was interesting, right? So I was listening. I know we're going completely off topic of FPL. We don't normally do this, but it's good to kind of talk about it. So Dimitri Payet, yeah, massive player for us. Came in, smashed it. He scored in 46 games. How many goals do you think he scored?
46 games, probably like 15, 20,
So 11 goals he scored.
11.
11 goals.
That's why I
Right.
didn't want to say. I was going to say like 10, but I thought no, he
Right.
scored more than that.
So I'm going to double check this, right? So yeah, 11 goals in 48 games, right? And everyone says, "Oh, big impact, massive," you know, and he was like, he was a massive player for us, hugely influential. I know he got a lot of assists as well. Huge player for us. Jesse Lingard, how many goals has he scored in 8 games?
What's he got? 10,
9 goals in 8 games.
9 goals.
So Payet scores 11 and 46. Jesse's got 9 and 8. Like, he has had more of an impact for West Ham than Payet did. Now, it's not me trying to compare the players and say one's better than the other or anything like that. It's just me saying of how much of an impact he's had and how much, you know, everyone was raving about Payet being for the Ballon d'Or and this and that and the other. And I'm not saying Jesse, she's contender for the Ballon d'Or or anything. What I'm saying is his impact for us, I would argue, is more than Payet's impact.
Yeah, I think it's
in 4 months.
especially if you, I think even if you didn't make the Champions League, but you're in the Europa League next season, I think even then that impact is still a positive thing because it means the club's moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think if you were told at the beginning of the season that you're going to have a roller coaster of a season where you at one point you thought you were going to get Champions League, but you got Europa League instead, you'd happily take Thursday nights, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So it's 8 goals in 9 games, not 9
Um,
goals in 8 games. But either way, look, I think yes, I would take Europa League. I'm not gonna lie, I would be disappointed now if there is going to be a part of me now. We're fourth, you know. And to be fair, we were fourth when we signed Jesse Lingard, but we have had injuries since, right? So Lingard has helped a lot. And I don't know if we would have maintained being fourth without Jesse. So definitely helped, huge impact. But there is a part of me that we're fourth, we can almost taste it. I would be not unhappy. I don't know what the word is, but I would be disappointed if we didn't finish in the Champions League spot. But I would still be very happy with Europa League, right? I'm still in kind of that dreamland territory where I don't think we will get top 4, but another part of me looks at it and goes, you know, I've looked at the last. We've got 7 games left. I think we can get 15 points at least from those last 7 games.
I think
Yeah, we've got Chelsea and Everton, which are tough fixtures, and then outside of that, we've got Burnley, Newcastle, Brighton, Southampton, West Brom. We should be getting 3 points from each of those games.
I think you cannot lose any of them. I think you can only afford to drop points in one or maybe two, and you can only drop points if you're going to drop points in two. One of them has to be the Chelsea game.
Yeah,
because you like if you draw against Chelsea, I think that's a good result still. Because they're not gaining on you, but then you've got to be worried about. Liverpool have started to pick up results. Like they're still not playing well, but they're just grinding out results. And I think if you can, like this weekend, like Leicester have got West Brom. Now, if Leicester slip up again and drop points against West Brom, it could happen. And you can get up there and get into third and give yourself that almost like a little buffer. I think
that Newcastle game is a must-win. We
Yeah.
have to win that
because I think that Newcastle game, like Chelsea,
it's not easy. The way that they played against Burnley. Now they've got St Maximin and Wilson. That's not going to be an easy game.
I can see you going 3-0 up and it finishing
Fucking it up.
3-2.
Yeah.
I think your next two games, like Newcastle, if you can come out the next two with 6 points, I think that sets West Ham up really well.
Oh, 6 points against Chelsea? I don't know if we'll beat Chelsea. I'll take a point at Chelsea.
Or 4 points from the next two.
Yeah, 4 points from the next two. Yeah.
So if you draw against Newcastle, you have to beat Chelsea.
Yeah.
I think you can only drop points twice. I don't think you can lose the rest of the season because Chelsea and Liverpool will be ready to just jump in. I'd still say Chelsea and Liverpool are the favourites for third and fourth.
If we beat Newcastle, and this is a big if, and we beat Chelsea, and we've got to finish top four. I would be fuming if we didn't make top four after beating Chelsea.
Yeah, I think.
I would be really disappointed.
You've got Burnley, like one of these on the beach teams. Everton still with an outside chance of Europa League, but I can't see it now. They've fallen away quite dramatically. Brighton on the beach, West Brom in 37. Now, if West Brom has somehow managed to close it down to a point or two, like that could be your second hardest fixture in the running. Like Chelsea being the hardest, West Brom away in 37 could end up being your the next hardest fixture. And then I think that if you can be in the top four after game week 37, then you will be in Europe next season in the Champions League. I think 38.
Could you imagine that West Ham in the Champions League?
I think 38. I think 38. That home game against Southampton, there'll be fans in the ground. You'll win. I'd have no doubt about you getting a result in 38, but in 37, that West Brom away. If there's fans there, if the 37 fixtures get moved into the midweek to get fans, that could be a tough game. Like West Brom away.
If we go into 38 needing to win for Champions League, I will be captaining Lingard 100%. As long as he's not injured, obviously. 100%, I'm captaining Lingard.
I've already said I'm captaining Aguero against Everton in 38. But it'll be Lingard. I mean, I don't think he's leaving anyone's FPL teams, is he? Really? I think you'd be really, really silly to sell him now.
Just a quick one on West Ham assets, right? Just to go back to FPL quickly. I didn't pick him as one of my differentials, but I think Bowen is worth a really good shout. He's playing in that centre forward position. Goal and assist on the weekend, played really, really well. Antonio on the grapevine is probably going to be out for 4 weeks. If you haven't got Lingard, I would say it's worth getting Lingard. But if you want someone else to double up on that West Ham run after Chelsea, we've got, as we said, Burnley, Newcastle, Burnley, Everton, West Brom. We've got really good run of fixtures within that last 5. I think doubling up on Bowen and Lingard isn't a bad shout.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
think that's a decent shout.
yeah. So I've looked at and thought about because I mean he was really impressive the other day, and I mean he's been impressive all season. But I think when Lingard came in, I think Moyes struggled to get that combination because he wanted to be playing Antonio, and then that partnership with Antonio and Lingard in the first few games was really good. And yeah, I think Moyes was like just trying to work it all out, and like he pulled off a few like really good games, like tactically. Was it against Villa when he doubled up on that right hand side with the 2 defenders
Against Grealish.
against Grealish and stuff like that? Like it just meant that, and I think you tried to do the same against Arsenal, and it worked on Aubameyang, like kept him out of the game. But yeah, it's meant that he hasn't been able to play Bowen, Lingard, Antonio, Benrahma, like all of the forwards. But now that Antonio's not there, he's going to get the minutes. And if it's 4 weeks for Antonio, then he's pushing it to be playing by the end, like starting by the end of the season, isn't he? Really?
Yeah.
Because
I think the other thing
Arsenal
as well, Cresswell's out for a couple of weeks, but the good news is that Ogbonna's back, so Ogbonna should come straight back into the team this weekend, and that he'll fill in for Cresswell at left centre back. So I think that's really good news because our defence has been shaky. We've conceded 7 in the last 3. We've scored 9, but we've conceded 7. So that's really going to help us with Ogbonna back.
Yeah, I think that'll probably lead him to like towards the end of the season keeping with that fight, especially with Rice out. Staying with that 5 at the back, so that you've got that bit of solidity. I think in the end, on Sunday, like that showed just being out, having that like the 3 centre halves. It just showed that like just Leicester had no way through. Like they didn't have many, if any, big chances. Like
So
Inacho's.
should we be talking about now Noble and Souček versus Ndidi and Tielemans rather than Rice and Souček?
Yeah, maybe it's one for pre-season. Anyway,
Right, let's move on to our topic. We've spoken 45 minutes on that. Okay, so Uber differentials. So first off, let's go with defenders.
yep.
So I chose Semedo, and you've gone for Ricardo Pereira. So the reason why I went with Semedo is because Wolves have a really good run of fixtures, and I think Semedo is going to be a good part of that from an attacking point of view as well. So over the last kind of few game weeks, I've seen him playing a lot more of an attacking position. He's playing he was right wing back, now he's gone to right back. It depends if they're playing, because they're playing in a 4 now rather than a 5, right? So it depends whether or not they're going to go back to a 5, from whether or not he's worth it from an attacking point of view, but definitely from a defensive point of view. On the weekend, I think he got the 4 bonus points as well. So his ownership's only 2.6%. He's got 85 FPL points, and he's averaging 3.1 FPL points per 90. Not great over the course of the season, but when you look at their fixtures coming up, I think that's what's kind of swaying me towards a Wolves defender. They've got Sheffield United, Burnley, West Brom, Brighton in the next 4. Definitely worth looking at for a Wolves defender. I don't know what the impact of Neto being out is going to be, and then obviously Neves has got COVID as well, so I'm not sure what the impact on the Wolves' defense will be on that. Do you know how that would impact them?
So I think that Wolves will probably might revert back to that back five with Neto and Neves both out, where he'll play Bowley, Cody, Size, Ain't Nori at the moment because Johnny's out, and then Semedo on the other side. So I think it actually is more.
Benefits them then.
Yeah, it's more of a plus towards Semedo. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Neves is back. Whether he goes back into the 4-4-2 again. But it just makes sense that he reverts back to that three, and they're a much better team when they play that 3/5 at the back. I think it suits the way that they set up. So yeah, I think it's an interesting one, but yeah, I think it's worth a gamble.
Yeah.
It's only 5.2, so it's not like you're gambling on like someone that's going to cost you a bit more. It's quite an easy little upgrade that you can do from someone that's like around that 5 million mark.
Yeah, I think attacking, figures always for defenders are going to be crap over, when you're looking over a whole season. So I wouldn't necessarily pay too much attention for that. But obviously, the clean sheets is the bread and butter, and that's what I think Wolves will be able to do for their next kind of 4 or 5 game weeks at least. Right, do you want to go with? Do you want to talk through your differential?
Yeah, so I've gone with Ricardo Pereira at 5.9 million, so a bit more on the expensive side, but his ownership is only 0.7%, which
Wow.
is crazy. But he has spent a long time injured. So yeah, only 26 points, but 2.8 points per 90. I think on Sunday I was obviously
He nearly scored a goal.
I was watching the game and we almost saw him like back to his best, like really causing trouble down that right hand side, playing really advanced for a right back. And like for the last 5-10 minutes, he was pretty much camped in the final third on that right hand side, just pinging balls in. I think with Leicester's fixtures, like it's like Wolves over the next few weeks. Like Leicester, they've got West Brom at home, Palace at home, Southampton away, Newcastle at home. Like those next 4 fixtures for Leicester, like despite like we mentioned earlier that they could fall away. I think there is a big moment these next 4 fixtures for Leicester, and if they do come out with results in all 4 of them, which they need results from all 4 of them to have a chance of sort of staying in control of their destiny for the Champions League. I think he'll pick up some returns along the way, whether it be clean sheets or you'd like to think he would pick up an assist or 2. But yeah, it's hard to like you said, going with the stats over this season. But yeah, because he's been injured for so long. It just means that like, what you're looking at is lots of stats from him, sort of getting back to full fitness. Like because at the start of the season he started the season injured, came back, then he got injured again. Now he's just come back in the last like 6 or 7 weeks, and it's just taken him some time to kind of get back into the pace. But he really impressed me the other day against West Ham. What do you think about Ricardo Pereira?
Yeah, really good option, and if it wasn't for Fabianski's fucking superb save, he would have scored a goal. Like that, I saw that and I was like, "This is a goal. It's a goal." I can't believe Fabianski saved that. It was so good. Or it was good. Or I thought we gave away a penalty. Yeah, I think he's a really, really good option.
Yeah, especially at like 0.7%.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that would put me off is his price tag. I think if you were bringing him in, it would be for probably one of the City guys, like Diaz, Cancelo, Stones. It'll be one of those three that you're moving out for Pereira, and I think it's actually a good move because I think overall you're going to get more minutes and more game time out of Pereira than you are any of the City defenders, because I can only see them starting 3, maybe 4 games each between now and the end of the season. And even if they start, you can't guarantee they're going to make 60 minutes with a clean sheet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd I'd almost definitely, if I still had Diaz or Diaz, Stones, Cancelo, then I'd be looking at Pereira or Semedo as a replacement. Because both can get returns, especially for these next 4 or 5 weeks.
All right, so let's move on to midfielders. So for my midfielder, I've chosen Mason Greenwood. He's looked really good in the last few games, especially price tag of only 7 million and an ownership of only 2%. He's had 67 FPL points, and FPL points per 90 is 4.3. So he doesn't play a huge amount of games, but with Martial now out for the season, I can see him starting a lot more games. I know he didn't start on the weekend, but he came off the bench and got a goal and assist, right? It was a goal and assist, wasn't it?
Yeah, he got a
Yeah,
goal
he
and
did. Yeah.
assist. Yeah.
But he looked really good in that last kind of, I think it was 17 minutes that he played or something like that. His XG over 90, 0.3, his XA's 0.1. Again, these stats don't tell you a lot, but big chances, 8 big chances, 3 goals and 2 assists. 3 goals and 2 assists for the season. But if you put that into perspective of over the last couple of games, he's had 2 goals and 1 assist in the last 2. So you can kind of see from that his season really hasn't been as what we thought he was going to be. But he's starting to get into that first 11 now, switching in between Europe and in the Premier League. And the fact that now Martial is out, I think that really helps him. And for 7 million, I think he's really a really good pump for the rest
I
of the
mean,
season. What do you think as a United fan?
he started off the season. I mean, there was the whole thing in, where was it? Norway, Iceland, where there was the incident in his hotel room
Oh
with with who was it with? Was it with Sancho? Was it with Jadon Sancho? But yeah, I
No,
think
Phil Foden.
that was it, Phil Foden, where I think he was punished by the club. Like, they were obviously both punished by England, but I think they were both punished by their clubs respectively as well. And I think with Foden, you didn't see it as much, but with Greenwood, I think it really affected his confidence, because he does seem like a very quiet type of player. And I think the whole situation, I think it just struck his confidence a little bit negatively, and it's meant he struggled to find some form, especially after how he finished last season. Like in the Project Restart, he was brilliant. Like, I think he scored, I think he was just under a goal a game during Project Restart. See, my only concern with him is still rotation. So it's something that I've had a think about, and I think he'll start against Burnley, but against Leeds, I don't think he will. I think Ollie would opt for, and like that's the fixture that you really, really would
Want him. Yeah.
want him. And I think Ollie will go for Dan James against Leeds, which he did in the return fixture earlier on in the season, because he'll want like someone that's going to do all of that running, lots of energy, get up and down the pitch, and that's Dan James. Like that's the job he does for Ollie. and it showed in the first game earlier in the season. Like Dan James was put in there to do that job. So I think actually Greenwood might miss out of that fixture. Liverpool, again, it'll be Dan James because Liverpool obviously they play Robertson and Trent going all the way up, so United will look to break on them and break quickly. And we saw in both the FA Cup and the league game. When was that? In February, January. Dan James started both of them. But then, Villa, Leicester, Fulham, Wolves. Definite options. But that's going like off the previous experience from earlier in the season. Now, he might have just played his way in to securing himself in those Leeds and Liverpool games, especially if he hasn't have a good performance against Burnley. But I don't think he's as locked as people might think, and that's my concern with him. But he could come on like he did against Spurs and come away with returns, especially if United if he comes on and United are chasing game, he rarely returns. But if they're comfortable and he can get that like extra second, then he can really punish teams. So it'll be interesting. If he starts against Burnley and returns, I can see him starting against Leeds. But if he doesn't, then I think he'll be on the bench for Leeds and Liverpool.
Right, you want to go through your option?
So I've picked another United midfielder that I think is more or less locked in, and he'll definitely start every game for the rest of the season. He's only 1.5% owned, and his name is Paul Pogba. 7.6 million. He's dropped from, I think he started the season at 8. So he's had a few price drops that makes him a little bit more affordable than I think we spoke about him in January when he was still 7.9 and it was just still a bit too much for him. But he's got 77 FPL points. God knows where.
How?
No, he's just snuck through them. I mean, you've got to think he had hauls against West Ham, against Burnley, where he was getting double figure returns. So, like probably a third of his FPL points of the season might be in that West Ham on away and that Burnley at home fixture. Shots per 90, 1.4, 0.6 shots on target per 90. His XG and XA not very good, but he's created 3 big chances. He's had 6 big chances, come away with 3 goals and 4 assists. I think, his shots and shots on target, I don't think it's very true because he's always been the type, although he might not be anymore, that likes to pull the trigger from range. Like he picks the ball up in that 25, 30 yard like pocket, and he likes to have a shot. And we've seen it a few times. Well, against West Ham, he picked the ball up in that pocket and scored, didn't he? Earlier on in the season. There's a confidence and a swagger about him at the moment. And we saw in the build up to Greenwood's goal, the third one against Spurs on Sunday, we saw that confidence. He picked the ball up it's about 20 yards from the halfway line, and he shrugged off 2 Spurs defenders and then just laid the ball off for Greenwood, who's then taken on Dyer and absolutely spanked it past Lloris. But it's that confidence, like he's showing that because he doesn't have pace, he's just got this power and his ability to keep control of the ball when he's got defenders around him. And I think there's more returns in him this season. I'd be very disappointed now if Paul Pogba doesn't remain a United player in the summer, because I think he'll play a big part in us challenging next season. And if we sold him, yeah, I think we'd need to fill another spot because he's a definite starter now, and he gives us that opportunity where before in earlier on the season where we were playing two holding midfielders all of the time. Yeah, he comes in and we're able to like play instead of playing Matic and Fred, we're able to play McTominay and Fred because you've got Pogba and Bruno that are happy to do like some defensive work as well as getting forward to cover for McTominay going forward. So yeah, I think it makes United a better team with him there, and I think that's why I'd pick him over Greenwood at the moment. Just for that, I know that he's starting every game, whilst Greenwood he could come on, he might not. But the likeliness is he does come on for like a 5, 10, 15-minute cameo at the end. And if you're starting him, then if you bring him into your team, you bring him in to start him with the fixtures that United have got left. And if you bring him in to start him, you want him starting the games. You don't want to be relying on him coming on 15 minutes to go and coming away with 11 points every week. So I think they're two really good options. Another one that I'd thought of, and I almost had him as my top option, is Saint Maximin. He's still, I think he's like 3.5% owned, but he came on and just changed the game the other day for Newcastle, and I can see him if Newcastle do stay out. I think with Saint Maximin and Wilson there, I think they can come away from these last few games with a point or like enough to keep them up. Whereas if they didn't have Saint Maximin and Wilson there, then I think they'd have really struggled. But he looks like he's fit and he's ready to go and ready to fight. So he could be worth a little gamble.
Few other options I like as well is Bowen, who we spoke about earlier, Havertz as well, and the other Pereira of West Brom. I think you know West Brom have got tough fixtures, but I think if they are going to do anything, he's the person that's going to perform for them. He's on penalties as well. He's done really well over the last couple of games. He scored 2 goals against Chelsea. He scored a goal against Southampton. So I think he's a good option. Right, should we look at forwards?
Yep.
So the forward that I went for is Mateo Vidra, who I said would be a good pick for a wild card, and you said no, and now you might be picking him in your FPL team this week. So I'm glad I persuaded you on that one. 4.8 million, 1.6% ownership. Obviously, his performance mainly has been good over the last few games. So over the course of this season, he hasn't been great because he hasn't obviously been playing. He's had 48 points and 4.2 FPL points per 90. He scored 3 goals and 1 assist, and I think they've all come within the last few games. He's formed a really, really good partnership with Wood, and I think he kind of, with Barnes injured, I think he gets that main spot. So in game week 27, 28, 30 and 31, so his last 4 games he scored 3 goals and 2 assists. So they've all come in the last few games. Actually, no, that's Chris Wood. So Vidra, sorry. So Vidra in his last 3 games has got 2 goals and an assist. He's one of those that's on form, and I think for 4.8 million, he's not a bad option. If you bring up their fixtures, Rob, I think they've got 3 good fixtures that you could start him in. So you've got Wolves in 33, you've got Fulham in 35, Leeds in 36, Sheffield United in 38. So 4 out of 7 fixtures you
Not
could
West
start
Ham
him
in 34.
No, not West Ham in 34.
Against that leaky defence.
Depends how we're playing. But it
If
all,
you're going,
you know,
if you're
as a
going
third option,
if you're going 3-0 up every game and letting the other team score twice, then
then maybe, yeah. What do you think of Vidra?
yeah, I think this weekend it won me around, and with Barnes out, and his price at 4.8, because like you don't have to play him every week, so he can be like a bit of bench fodder as well. He's a more reliable sub 5 million player than Ryan Brewster.
Anyone?
Let's put it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah, definitely.
Who is still in an insane, and I think he's still like around the 10% own mark. Ryan Brewster is,
He hasn't
because
scored yet for Sheffield United,
yeah,
has he?
and I don't know why he's still in people's teams. It's because he's the cheapest forward.
Yeah.
That does play. Whether you call it playing or not is another question. But yeah, I mean, we'll talk about shortly, like my planned move for this week, and yeah, he's part of that because of that price tag. He's an enabler for me to do something else this week. So yeah, I really like him as a as a pick moving forward. Yeah, for a couple of the fixtures, and like you said, yeah, United, he's not going to get anything, but like you wouldn't start him anyway. But potentially, yeah, Wolves, West Ham, Fulham, Leeds, Sheffield United, in those other like 5 of those last 6 fixtures, I think there's a potential for returns. Um, Liverpool, you could even get a return against Liverpool. You don't know. Burnley beat Liverpool a few weeks ago. So yeah, you don't know. I think he's got 2 or 3 goals in him between now and the end of the season.
Right. What was your forward?
And so my forward is Gabriel Jesus, only owned by 3.2%. His price tag 9.2 million, 77 points, 5.4 points per 90. Has 2.5 shots per 90, of which about 3/4 of them on target. XG per 90 of 0.4, XA of 0.2. He has 3 shot creating actions per 90. Has created 4 big chances over the season. Has had 13 big chances,
Wow.
of which he's come away with 8 goals and 3 assists. I think with Man City going deep, deep into Europe, he's going to be starting pretty much every game. I think with it looking like Pep's going to keep De Bruyne fairly wrapped up, not risk him anywhere at this stage of the season. Maybe give him the odd cameo, just keep his legs going. Yeah, if that's happening, then Jesus starts more, because he can play as a false 9 or as a number 9, and so I can see him getting chances, and coming away with returns, because even with their second team out, they are a strong side still, and you're going to expect over the next few weeks that City are going to have their second team out. It's also worth noting that if they make the FA Cup final, so they've got the semi-final this weekend against Chelsea. If they do beat Chelsea, they will have a double game week between now and the end of the season, which it's worth keeping an eye on that. Although I think that might depend on whether one of the game weeks gets moved around, to create this opportunity for all the sides to have fans for one home game this season. So yeah, it's worth keeping that in mind. But again, there's no guarantee, especially if City at that point are in the semi-finals of the Champions League or the final of the Champions League, whether anyone starts both games. I doubt anyone will if they have a double game week. The only worrying thing is, obviously the blank in 33. Would you have him in 33, or would you bring him in after that for when they play Palace in game week 34? I think it's hard to ignore, but I wouldn't. I think it's one of those where you have to kind of weigh up lots of pros and cons with him, because there is a lot of pros. Him playing for the champions elect, probably playing up like as a number 9 for the champions elect. But then the cons are, there may be the odd game that Aguero will start. I think that in 38 Aguero starts, whether it's just for people have tipped it for 16 minutes, and then he gets hooked after 16 minutes, a la John Terry, or yeah, we don't know. I think a lot of things with City will all depend on what happens in their Champions League games, because if they do get to the final, that's the holy grail for them. And I think if they're in the final, then he doesn't start the final, so he'd start like the last 2 game weeks. But if they're not in the final, then Pep might go, right, we'll just finish strongly in the league and blow away the last couple of teams, and Aguero will start to give him that little swan song.
Indeed. Right. So, anything else on differentials?
Not really. Another one like forward Edison Cavani.
Yes, good option.
Like we spoke about Martial being out. He was really impressive against Spurs on Sunday. He's slowly creeping up to that 5% mark. I expect by deadline on Friday for him to be well over that 5% mark, especially with the returns last week. But yeah, Martial's out. I think he will start in that centre forward position for United. And then whether that'll be Rashford on the left, and it'll be one of Greenwood, Dan James on the right hand side. So yeah, although against Spurs the other day it was Rashford on the right and Pogba on the left. But I think it all depends on the opposition. I think there'll be times when against the weaker sides, like this weekend, I think it'll be Cavani, Rashford, and one of Greenwood or James playing as that in that front three. But against like Liverpool, it'll be Rashford, Pogba, Cavani. But I think if you were going to gamble on the like differentials at United, I'd say it's like Pogba, Greenwood, Cavani. Not necessarily in that order though.
Okay, right. So, before we quickly talk about what our plans are for this week, we had one question in, and it basically answers itself. So the question was from FPL Summers at Summerfield Matt. Spurs defense for the double, is it a trap? Yes, and he's put that himself. So, to be honest with you, I agree. Yes, it is a trap. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I did tinker with the idea of having Reguilon in on my wild card, but after their performance against United defensively, I think you might get an assist out of him, but I think that's all you're going to get. If you've got Lloris already, obviously play him, because you're getting 180 minutes out of him and 2 shots at a clean sheet. But I wouldn't be buying anyone. Not buying. I wouldn't say not buying anyone from Spurs. I wouldn't be buying any Spurs defensive assets.
Yeah. Agreed. Right. So let's quickly talk about our teams. I'll go through. As you got it up, you can go through yours.
So what I'm thinking of doing is, because of the Neto injury, and I spoke about last week that I wasn't thinking about taking a hit, but the disappointing performance from Southampton plus the Neto injury makes it a good chance to just attack the Spurs double. Now, this is also paired up with the disappointing performance by Everton. So yeah, the combination of disappointing Everton performance and Southampton performance has meant I thought, right, go Ings to Vidra and Neto to Son. I think it's a low risk, high reward -4 because of the double game week. I'm effectively only taking a -2 because I'm going to get two starts from Son, and he's not one of these players that comes off at 60 minutes. He'll play plenty of the games, and he does look, he looks like he's back to full fitness and raring to go. He picked up the goal the other day. We won't talk about his fingernail scrape to the face that almost put him in hospital. But yeah, I think it's an opportunity to just attack the game week. So yeah, I'm more or less 100% sure that will be my moves this week. I can't think of anything to go against that. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Fine move.
I mean,
I don't like the -4 after a wild card personally, but I think it's quite important for you to get Son in with the double game week. You don't want to lose Salah or Fernandez, which I understand. So the logical move is Son for Neto and Ings to Vidra. I don't see anything wrong with that.
yeah, it's just it makes sense, and yeah, I think it's better to try and just be really aggressive with it this week, and I think the effective ownership of Kane and Son together this week is just going to be insane because everyone's going to be captaining one of them as well.
The only difference with our front eight now is going to be Fernandez versus Vardy.
I think Fernandez outscores Vardy between now and the end of the season.
Interesting. We'll see what happens.
I think he does just by the way that he's performed in the last.
That's
few
going
weeks.
to be, I think, the only difference of our front eight.
So, what are your plans this?
I'm just going to roll, mate. I don't need to do anything because my bench is looking quite hard, to be honest, like this week. So on my bench, my first sub is Rudiger. My second sub is Masuaku. My third sub is Rafinha. So I've got a benching headache, to be honest with you, and I don't need to do anything. So I'm just going to roll.
Nice to roll and then probably ship out Kane and Son after the double.
They've got two good fixtures after that. So
Afterwards they've got the blank, so you'd probably want
the
to
blank.
move one out.
I don't know. Maybe I'll have a look. They've got Sheffield United, Leeds, Wolves, Villa to end the season. I don't know. Maybe depends how Son plays. I don't think I can see myself moving Kane. Maybe Son. Maybe if I can get Son in for Fernandez, make some money somewhere else. I don't know.
Son.
To be honest with you, I'm going to try and go without Fernandez for the season. To try and make some grounds elsewhere because 60%, he's 60% owned. If I can gamble on Fernandez staying relatively quiet for the season, rest of the season, and going for a differential like Greenwood or Bowen or someone like that, I could make a lot of ground.
I think in 33, Son to either Greenwood or Pogba would be like a really good move because they've got that Leeds fixture where I think it would just be a ridiculously high scoring game. I'm really looking forward to it, partly because I fucking hate Leeds, but it's the first game was really exciting to watch, and I can imagine this being exactly the same. I think I might be doing something like that. Like I'll bring in Son as part of a hit this week for the double, but then shifting on to either Pogba or Greenwood in 33, or doing Kane to Cavani in 33. Yeah, just how like trying to think ahead. But I don't. If I bring in Son and have both Son and Kane, I don't want them both sitting on my bench in 33. I want to be investing that money in Leicester, Liverpool, United, where they've got the fixtures that you can get some returns from. So yeah, it'll be one to think about, but yeah, not for this week. It'll be something to think about next week.
Okay, so that's the end of the pod. Slightly different pods. We spent half the time talking about not FPL stuff, but it's good to get perspective on the top four life, as I might be living that life soon as a in the Champions League. Anything from you before we end the pod, Rob?
No, I mean, still we had one more representative jump in, so we've got Finland filled for our build up to Euro 2020. So I think now it's just Russia, Ukraine, and Croatia that we're looking for. So if you are from or know of anyone from Russia, Ukraine, or Croatia, yeah, please just drop us a DM and on Twitter or reply to any of our posts or tag people in, because it'd be great to be able to fill those last three and start organising how we're going to record 24 pods in about 14 days. Yeah, so
Well, are we calling this the 24 and 14, like Planet FPL called their 30 and 30?
it's going to be insane. I think we decided last week it will be in the 2 weeks leading up to the tournament. The squads get announced on the 11th of May. I think that's the deadline. And then from about the 14th or 15th, we'll be recording, and then they'll be going out from around 2 weeks before. Yeah, every day 2 pods going out. One pod at the weekends. So there'll be loads of content for people to listen to and get a bit of background info from some of the lesser known countries. I'm really looking forward to chatting with who was it? I've forgotten what the guy's name was from North Macedonia. That's going to be fascinating.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're all going to be fascinating chats. Like there'll probably be some arguments about the England one, because yeah, we won't be arguing about who should be in the squad like we saw Carragher and Neville talking about. It'll be arguing about who fucking starts in the squad, because yeah, it's one thing picking the England squad at the moment, and it's a completely different ball game trying to nail it down to 11 players, let alone the 22. But yeah, really looking forward to that.
Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. Your feedback is really important to us. So please let us know how you find the pods. You can find us on Twitter, FPL_Happy Hour. We're also on a number of podcasts, including Spotify and Google Podcasts, and our YouTube channel, FPL Happy Hour. Please subscribe, like, and share on Twitter until Thursday. So we're going to be live streaming on Thursday. We'll speak to you then. Take care.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.